The following review has been approved by Ethel the Cyborg Ninja. Welcome to a special classic game room, because today I'm bringing you the review of the Sega SG-1000 Mark II, because two marks are always better than one. Did you think that the Sega Master System was Sega's first game console? Guess again, it's the Sega SG-1000. Originally released in 1983, this is the Mark II model, which came out in 1984. Such a great year, Van Halen made an entire album about it. Computer video game. This was meant to compete with Nintendo's Famicom, the family home computer. It plays game cartridges, and while it's not much to look at, it does a good job. Also, it's a classic Sega, and as a Sega fanboy, this makes me very happy. Sadly, they didn't learn from the Atari 2600 and put the controller ports on the back, but check this out. The SG-1000 describes itself on the top of the game console. A fun-packed console designed for simple operation. Its colorful gameplay is sure to test your skills, sharpen your reflexes, and greatly enlarge your imagination. While this is a very obscure game system in the United States at least, they never released it in America, there's a huge catalog of nice games, many of which should be very familiar to you. I've only got a few of them here, but so far I'm impressed, and hold on to your seats! It's the Sega Card Catcher, which catches cards and plays them. Try that, Famicom! These are really neat, and as far as I can tell, they're exactly like the cards you would find for the Sega Master System, which had some games in card form. I love the artwork for this one. Zoom 909 is a really cool game. And you may be wondering, does this work on Western or American televisions? Yes, it does, and I'll show you that momentarily. Let's look at the controller, which I actually don't have. So I'm using a Sega Master System controller. 2-button controller works perfectly. As I understand it, the Sega Genesis controller is not as compatible. The SG-1000 Mark II is roughly the same size as the Sega Master System. It's super light, but it feels like it has a nice build quality. It actually feels a lot like the Master System. I don't have the original power supply, but this one, with these numbers, works just fine. To play this thing, you're going to need to tune your television to channel 96. So it's kind of like using the Famicom, except it's a Sega. Even if many of the games are pretty basic, like Lode Runner seen here, the PC Classic looks great and plays well on the Sega SG-1000 Mark II. And everybody around the Intergalactic Space Arcade thinks that guy is collecting Chex Mix, which always makes me hungry every time I play this game. Now let's step it up the Starjacker, which demonstrates what the SG-1000 can do with sound. It's amazing. Not only is this game fun to play, it's music to the ears. Let's check out Zoom 909, one of the Sega My Cards. This one's got a Galaxy Force thing to it. As you can see, if you like old Sega games or old arcade games in general, the Sega SG-1000 Mark II is a super cool game system to own. There's a lot of games out there for it. It works with a Master System controller. That's always a good thing. But wait, there's more. Because as I was filming this review, what should arrive here in outer space? Why, it's the Mark III. It's the next one, which looks similar. As you can see, they moved the joystick controller ports to the front and added a card reader, just like the Master System. What's the difference between the two? You know, I really haven't spent much time with the Mark III yet. I'll cover that in its review. In theory, 3 marks should be better than 2, but 2 marks is terrific, especially when they both come from Sega. One of my favorite games to date has got to be Bomb Jack. I love Bomb Jack. I've actually got this in my 16-1 arcade machine. I'll tell you right now, Starjacker and Bomb Jack are my two favorite games on the Mark II. Sadly, Truxton does not play on it. If you love old school games and are a diehard Sega fanatic, then the Sega SG-1000 is a game system for you. It's a collector's item for sure, but it works really well. There's a lot of great games for it, and it's not prohibitively expensive. However, I have a super massive Sega-sized thank you to send once again to Mark and Suzanne from Fresh Meadows, New York. Thank you again. Thank you for opening up the world of SG-1000 reviews with the fantastic Mark II. And Chris from New Jersey sent the Mark III, so I think we'll have to have a Mark II versus Mark III deathmatch for the next review. Until then, it's Sega SG-1000 time here on Classic Game Room Mark II.